We are talking about the law of consistency today. My name is Patrenia Werts, Onuoha. Very honored to be sharing this law with you. I am the principal coach in Patrenia Speaks, which is a brand of Resilience Life Resources Limited, and I am a diamond coach with Living with Diamond Life. Let's get into this thing. Motivation. So many of us are so excited. We get motivated, we get started, we're going, right? And so often we believe that is the key. That is the key to success. But in fact, motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. We're going to focus on growth. And let's look at this. The compound effect is such a key principle in how we make the difference in the results that we want in the world. The compound effect is simply a principle that says it allows you to reap huge rewards from what? A series, not just one, not a one-off, but a series of small, smart choices. Consistency, right? We talk about rituals. We talk about, consistent people are seen as what? They're reliable because we know that they're not a one-off. I have a boss that I worked with. He and I were so in sync. And my joke with Ted was he was consistently consistent. And quite often I had to fill in for him. Or he would be away like every 6 weeks, 3 or 4 days. But we were so in sync and understood that when a particular issue came, we had a way to respond to it. It was a consistent criteria that we applied in working through our issues, how we engaged with stakeholders, the principles that guided our work and that. It was so consistent. So oftentimes when he was away, people wouldn't know it because I had inculcated this method and approach and was able to deliver seamlessly. And I grew through the process. He carried me along and I grew my abilities through that consistency, through doing it the same way or approaching, asking the same questions every time. If we approach our growth in that same way, we'll be able to reap huge compounding. I must repeat, compounding effects. It's just like investing $1 or $1 a day over a 20-year period versus saying, let me put the same amount of money once off and try to reap it right away. No, the compounding effect is over that long period of time. One of my favorite actors, Samuel Jackson, he says that, people call him an overnight success. He said, I spent 40 years preparing to be an overnight success. So it's about repeatedly building the skill. Malcolm Gladwell helped us to really understand that in order to be an expert, you must do the thing at least 10,000 times, 10,000 times. So that when you are looking to be the best, when you're getting in front of the audience to speak, and people shouldn't be shocked because you've done it in the mirror 10,000 times. You prepare when you're doing something in your particular role. It's about you doing it over and over and over again. You've thought it through. It becomes part of your subconscious. You can do it almost automatically. That's what we're looking for. So let me just share some key quotes that have always guided me in this area, and hopefully it'll guide you as well. One is, if you develop habits of success, you'll make success a habit. Have patience. All things are difficult before they become easy. A yoga teacher taught me that. She said, it's not that the posture is easier, it's that you have changed. So you are now different. So the way that you approach and deliver is going to be different. So just be patient, change will come. I often use the example of the bamboo tree. You put the seed in the ground and you must water it 5 long years before anything comes up on the ground. And then once you hit the year 5, within 9 months, it's hundreds of feet in the air. It did not grow overnight. It was that consistent watering seed that made the difference in how far it would reach. So once you learn how to quit, it does become a habit. Vince Lombardi is a famous United States football coach who taught us so much about winning, so much about playing in a team. But most that it begins with you. If you're that dabbler that starts and stops every time any challenge comes, or when you hit a plateau, because plateaus are going to come. You've got to know what to do when you hit that plateau. And that's why discipline keeps you growing. Motivation gets you started. That discipline to be able to say, so what do I need to do now? What's my process? What's the consistency? Is it calling for, in this case, if you start something and you hit a plateau, you may want to contact a coach, find an accountability partner, have a mentor, have something that you do that keeps you going, keeps you growing toward where you're going. Don't, if you start being that dabbler, start, stop, you'll never hold yourself accountable because that becomes the bar of how you are meant to perform. And those are expectations from yourself. So it's important when you're on your growth journey to align your methods of motivation with your personality style. So we've talked so much about self-awareness and knowing yourself. Whatever framework you apply, know that the way I motivate myself may be different from the way you motivate yourself. So, example, I'm high D. So whenever I'm wanting to do something, I'm usually carrying others along with me because that helps me. I'm a people-oriented person, and the visibility of working together. D's like to see the outcome, and you're able to see it in people, and that really fires me up to keep going. Where someone else might want to keep it a secret and just, have a strong measurement, or so many different ways. So I gave you my example based on my profile. So know you and figure out what will motivate you. Maybe it's that sticker on the mirror that you have to look at every day, that moment of truth for you. But align your methods of motivation with your personality type. I talked about Malcolm Gladwell and those 10,000. It's all about that consistency and discipline. Even if you don't see results, believe the process. Trust the process, follow the process, and consistency will deliver. I want to give you 3 coaching questions. The first one is, do you know what you need to improve? The secret there lies in choices and in strengths. So when you're trying to identify what you need to improve, I would encourage you to spend very little energy on weaknesses because you can always resource in weaknesses, and there's an actual limit to how good you can get in your weak areas. So focus on your strengths, your abilities, and say, how can I get even better? How can I distinguish myself? How do I get closer to expertise? And your choices, if you're spending time on things that are not in line with your growth, it's very, very important sometimes to do that time journal so you can see, how am I really spending my time? How can I make different choices? And what choices do I need to then focus on in terms of growing them and maturing them and making them higher quality? The second question is, do I know how? Do I know how to start? Do I know how to change? Do I know what I need to improve? How do I improve it? The question here is to make sure you start small. Rome was not built in a day, and neither were you. So identify something that's small, you can get some feedback on, and then you can grow. Third one then would be, do you know why? Do you know your why? So many people focus on willpower, but let's call it why power. If you can write down 5 compelling reasons why you've set something as your growth target, then when you get, a little discouraged, as we humans do, you'll look at that list and be reminded of your why. Your why, let's call it your why power, okay? So if you use those, you'll be able to move toward areas that you want to grow in. Last but not least, I want to encourage you to shift your focus. And shifting your focus, you're going from goal to growth. And what does that look like? In goal, you focus on destination. In growth, you focus on the journey. In goal, you motivate yourself and others. But in growth, you mature. Michelle Obama talks about that in becoming. In becoming, the goal for growth or target, you are becoming a new person that can now deliver that thing. So know that growth consciousness allows you to mature yourself and others. Goal is seasonal, growth is lifelong. Goal consciousness challenges you, where growth consciousness changes you. How many of you are noticing differences on your growth journey? The people are commenting that maybe you approach things slightly different. Your temperament, the way you manage your emotions, the way you focus, it will change you if you focus on the growth. And last but not least, this is the biggest challenge with goal orientation. Is you often stop when the goal is reached. That's why people are going to diet, they hit the goal and they stop. And somehow you see them drifting back. It's because they get accepted as a growth consciousness. So with growth consciousness, you keep going, you keep growing, even beyond the goal. I challenge you today. Motivation gets you going, discipline keeps you growing. Apply the law of consistency, and you will get the growth that you are looking for.